live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, with me, Mr. Lady Ada. We're broadcasting from downtown Manhattan, where we have the Adafruit factory. That's where we do all the manufacturing, all the goodies you love to purchase and make stuff with. So creative, so many guides, so many videos, so many new products. All coming up for the next hour. We're going to be covering everything you need to know or want to know or maybe even don't want to know in making, hacking, and engineering. How can you not love it? It's Ask an Engineer. Why don't we get right to it? Because we got a jam-packed show.
We do.
Full of juicy goodness.
Before we get into the show details, I want everyone to pay close attention because we're going to send some good vibes into the ether. So earlier in the week, Chris Young emailed me. A lot of you know Chris Young. He does guides on our website, and he's also on the show and tell. We're part of the Adafruit community and friend of the company for years.
Congrats, guides.
And he said, hey, Bill Binko, who a lot of you all know is AT Makers, which helps a lot of disabled persons, specifically younger people, with assistive technology. And Chris said Bill is in the hospital with COVID. So he sent me a link to a Facebook post, and this stuff is on their Bill's wife's Facebook page, Lori, and went over this. And then Chris said, hey, could you send out a note or something to your team, thoughts, prayers, whatever, if y'all are into that. And immediately let our team know. And we checked out Lori's write-up. And, of course, in a matter of very short time, it looks like Bill is doing okay. That being said, he did give a very Bill engineer style, a very technical overview, and then some good advice. Please get vaccinated. And then Bill posted a video. And then he just emailed before the show, and he was just in Discord. And I got a chance to look at some of the show and tell video. JP showed it, and Bill said, "Oh, I got my green shirt on." So one, I could tell he's doing better, but he has a ways to go. So the good news is, it looks like Bill's going to pull through. And the other bit of good news is, the power of positive thinking. Bill was able to see all of our messages. So if you see Bill on Twitter, if you see him in Discord, if you're on Facebook, Bill Binko, say hi. Because I know how special Bill is to all of us.
And it's scary and lonely being in the hospital. It's not, nobody goes there for fun. You want to know that there's people out there, even if they can't visit you in person. There's an online community that loves and cares about you, Bill, and we're all waiting for you. And it's awesome to see you. Still have access to your phone because you're in the Discord chat. And I'm hoping that you're getting good care and the good drugs.
That's right. And so, everyone, just spend a minute and a couple seconds and just, I don't know if it works, but so far I haven't seen anything bad by giving people good thoughts. It doesn't hurt any situation. I think it just helps. And then when people know it, I believe that makes them feel better no matter what. So, Bill, looking forward to talking to you and seeing you. Thanks for giving us the updates. And again, sending all of our wishes your way. And
we're going to have that Cutie Pie 2040 with the that jumper that you wanted. So you gotta stick with us because I made all this hardware for you.
That's right. All right, so let's kick it off. On tonight's show, Adafruit is shipping safe and smart. We'll talk about some of that. Our team thanks you. Here's some of our pre-COVID photos. We'll have some post-COVID photos.
Yeah.
Hopefully very soon. Show and tell, people around the world showing and sharing their projects. JP was host. Lady Ada will talk about who was on our show and tell. Time travel. Look around in the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, current news, and more. Help wanted. Jobs on the jobs board from companies. Also people posting up their skills. Python and hardware news. We're going to take a look at the latest newsletter and a couple videos. Main New York City factory footage and some other special videos. 3D printing, we got a speed up, and we also have a special video from Noah and Pedro. DigiKey and Adafruit present Ion MPI. This week is Weha, a cool tool that we're going to show off. We got some new products, some top secret. We're getting into your questions. You do that over on Discord. All 28,000 plus of us. Go to adafruit.it/Discord. We answer questions throughout the show, but most of them at the end, but also 24/7. People can help you out, and also they'll help each other out until we get to the questions.
Yeah.
All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Okay.
All right, so our reminder, we're doing the 100 Days of Masking.
We're so close, everybody.
We're just a few weeks away. New York has a little bit of a spike in cases. So does New Jersey. So does other places. When the restrictions get a little bit looser, people start to go to places where they're breathing air without a mask. So please consider wearing a mask for a little bit longer. And
even if you're vaccinated, I know you're like, I got vaccinated, but first off, it takes a couple of weeks to kick in. Also, not everyone, and it doesn't work 100%. It's still 95, 96%. It's important. Just until we have, a large portion of the population immunized, I think it's a good idea. I will be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Even after
here's the other thing too. Do the best you can. If you're around people and there's air being exchanged, wear a mask. And if you're into this, looked at the research, get vaccinated. One of the things that we're doing.
Cute little vaccine.
Yeah, it was like, I think that was on like the New York State Twitter feed. I'm just like, that's kind of nice. Okay. One of the things that we're doing as a company is we do paid time off so people can get vaccinated. We also give our team all the resources, information. We also know maybe not everyone's going to get vaccinated, but if we put out all the information and us as company leaders, we tell everyone what we're doing, what things are important to us. That so far has worked out with COVID testing and keeping us safe all this last year. The other thing is, don't get discouraged as states open up. There's websites that you have to put in your information and try again and try again, try again. There are going to be plenty of this. You just do the best you can and do everything you can in the time that we have with the tools available. So mask is one, vaccination later. Just continue to do these things. We're pretty close. There's a lot of good signs that there's recovery going on, even in our electronics industry. So we'll see. So anyways, 100 days of masking. That's part of your orders that we send out in the USA. If it's like over $1, we toss in a mask for now. Yeah. And then also we have other freebies. What are they, Lady Ada?
I'm glad you asked. Okay, so we're still doing our classic freebies. $99 or more, you get a free proto half-size breadboard. Super handy for making your project permanent, from a solderless breadboard to a solderful breadboard. $149 or more, we still have STEMMA QT boards and QT Py boards that we're giving away free with your order of $149 or more. Because they come in and out of stock, like for example magnetometers, I can't get them anymore. There's like none on planet Earth. But we have a whole selection of sensors and devices that we are offering to people. So you'll get a different one with each order if you make an account. We'll make sure you don't get the same one twice. Otherwise, it's random. $149 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. $199 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Express. And we're going to be, you're probably like, hey, like this kind of freebie hasn't changed much in the last year. We're going to start doing new freebies soon. We're going to start mixing up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But as we start to get back to a what I call somewhat normal, we will we'll change up some of the freebies. But for now, this is what you get. It's a good chunk of freebies, and of course you get the mask.
Well, we do still have sales once in a while. We don't do them during Ask an Engineer, but we have them on Tuesdays. I'll talk about that in a bit. And we also have some sales once in a while if you subscribe to the product newsletter. We do stuff, but expect some of those things to come back as we all come back. All right. Show and tell, people around the world showing and sharing their projects. Lady Ada, who is on the show and tell this week.
Okay.
And what did they share?
Thank you to JP who did show and tell this week for us. It's just been like so busy here. And so Phil and I are doing, we do the show and tell for a couple weeks, and then Noah and Pedro and JP can pick up a show a month. That helps us out a lot. So we had, Philby came by with his hacked RP2040 Pico. By hacked, it's like literally hacked. He hacksawed it to make it itsy bitsy sized. Hilarious hack, just love it. By the way, if you're watching this live, we do have RP2040 Picos in stock right now. We just put in a couple hundred of each. So if you want to go to the Adafruit shop and grab some, this is your chance. If it's not live, then it might be in stock, might not be. Melissa has an Apple IIc with an adorable monitor. Everybody loves this cute 9-inch monochrome green screen monitor. It is so cute. JP hosted the show. Noah and Pedro had the Cyber Deck. I don't know if they showed up. I missed the first few minutes. If they didn't, they made a Cyber Deck add-on plate. There's a learn guide for it, and they may have shown it off on Show and Tell. Kevin and Lydia came by with a science project. Lydia for a class made an orrery. It has a sun and an earth and a moon spinning. Did an excellent job in that it has like no visible wires. It's like super cool. It's like a self-propelled orrery with the battery inside of the sun. She said the only problem is it's not to scale, because usually the sun is like 800,000 times the size of the earth, and in this case it was only like 2 or 3 times. but I don't think it would fit in her house. Like, so I don't know. I think you did the best job you could, Lydia, given the scale and size of your workspace and the mass available for you as a human on this planet. Otherwise, good job. Liz is making a robotic recorder. It sounds cool. Like it's got like one note so far that it can play with a solenoid, and it blows air out through a pump. It reminds me a little bit of like the House on the Rock in Minneapolis. They have like weird robotic musical instrument players. They do a lot of pneumatics. Toddbot is playing around with cutie pies and Euroracks, trying to control analog electronics with CircuitPython and cutie pies. Timon came by with a project that we commissioned. It's a pocket chip shaped board, but with a 4.3 inch TFT display, a compute module 4 that clips onto the back, and a little tactile keyboard. And you get the tactile keyboard working with the TM8481, I think is the part number. So saves you a USB port because it does it over I2C. So good work with that. It looks awesome and hilarious and bigger than expected. So we might be changing the size. We just wanted to get something going, so we thought we would start with this 4.3 inch display, but we'll probably end up shrinking it down. But we had a pocket chip, and we always loved. Yeah, they went out of business, but it was an adorable little board before they closed shop. Daniel has a BLE keyboard for a tablet for drawing, and Mark is still working on those RGB LED house numbers, this time controlled by Adafruit.io.
All right, this is all part of our Adafruit Live series of shows. Wednesday, right now, Ask an Engineer, 8 p.m., Show and Tell, 7:30 p.m. every single Wednesday. These are our shows that we do on Wednesday. Desk of Lady Ada is something we do every Sunday. Sunday this week, Lady Ada, we did a few things. You showed off some Stemma QTs. And
this is it's Arduino Day.
It was Arduino Day. I'm going to play later on the Arduino videos we did because they're 2 short videos.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the Great Search?
Yeah, let's
instead?
talk about the Great Search.
So then you did a Great Search. We do the Great Search every week.
Where in the world is that part I need? The Great Search with DigiKey.
And this week it was...
Okay, so everything is out of stock everywhere on planet Earth for electronics. Something that anyone who's doing manufacturing right now is well aware of. And one thing that's just so infuriating about electronic parts is you often need like that part, like you're spec'd for that part. And if you can't get that exact part, your entire manufacturing line is halted, which means you have to be very resourceful when there's part shortages. And right now there's like 6, 9, 12-month part shortages. So one of the parts that we've been using, the APX 803, it's a very lovely auto reset controller chip. We use it a lot. It kind of just keeps our electronics working a little bit better than expected. That means you don't have to reset them manually, auto reset, thanks to this like 8-cent chip. It's end of line, but we were able to get the part. Like even though chips are end of line, you usually can still get them. But this one was end of line, and then this shortage came in, and somebody swept up and got like all the stock. So we had to find an alternative. We found a perfect alternative, but the thing about this Great Search, which I really like, is not only do I find an out of stock part, I found an alternative that is in stock. Yes, and is the same price. Bonus. And then triple word score, I show you how to navigate different part variant pinout numbers, which is something that happens sometimes when you find alternatives. Sometimes there's pin part variants where the part number is the same, but a letter indicates that the order in which the pins are in the package are different, which is like super infuriating if you've never bumped into it before. So watch the video and you can watch. Even I get a little confused, but in the end I fix it and I find the right part.
If you're doing any type of manufacturing, check out these every week because you will be living in a scarcity version of electronics for a little bit.
It'll end, but we're for example, like on the pocket chip that Timon's making, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I cannot get TFTs like at all whatsoever. So it's like it's a good time to prototype and develop, but I won't be able to put into manufacture yet.
Yeah.
Still, it's fun to develop.
Saw that Cisco today, they were like managing investor expectations and they're like, hey, like it might be 10% down. There could be this thing. And I think the smart companies are kind of advising people. They're saying like, yeah, like you have to start working around this now. If you're not able to be flexible during this time period, this,
That's why we have a lot of products.
this isn't the biz for you.
Yeah.
So, we'll be developing products that we know there's going to be long lead times for, but that's okay because it takes a while for these prototypes to go from prototype to market. But then we also diversified our product offering to have lots of different things, lots of different drop-in replacements, lots of different platforms. One good example is if you go to like circuitpython.org/downloads, you can look at all the different chips that CircuitPython
it's
supports.
STM, but it's also AVRs or
also
SMDs.
Nordic, yeah.
It's also Nordic, and it's also RP2040s.
Yeah, it's
and
also
also
the
runs on BeagleBone,
Sony's
CircuitPythons.
presence, yeah.
And Sony's presence. All these different chips. And the cool thing is because we designed, one of the things that was important to us is making sure that ports are as agnostic as possible to the language. You can swap in different feathers, different QT pies, different boards, and your CircuitPython code will run the same. Arduino also tries to do the same thing. That's another nice thing about Arduino is it's for the most part port agnostic. I mean, I think it's gotten better. I think it used to be very AVR specific, but now because there's so many different boards, people shy away from using the port specific, register functions and stuff, and are trying to use higher level languages. But CircuitPython is all higher level. So
here's the other
you
thing:
go.
if you do open source, the people in your community will be able to adapt the code that you've released as open source, possibly for other things. If you don't, then you're stuck with doing all of it, and/or trying to figure it out, or trying to ramp up. Being as open as possible, as early as possible. If you're not open now. I know we're in a better position because there might be community contributions that come in because we're moving to other chipsets that people know. And other people might be able to keep their business going because they can build their product line off a lot of our open source code. So we're, what's the term, bullish? We seem to thrive when there's challenges.
No, it's not bullish. We're anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile. Okay.
Yeah. That's the
All
cool
right.
hip term of the week.
All right, next up. Every single Tuesday, speaking of shows, we do a JP's Product Pick of the Week. This is the one we do discounts on. We do a live broadcast from inside the product page.
Up to half off.
Yep. Here's a recap from this week.
It is the SCD30 CO2 sensor in STEMMA QT format. There you can see there's my CO2 parts per million. So I've got the workshop is pretty well ventilated. This is really, I think, one of the best demos is breathe on it, right? So there you can see I have significantly increased the amount of carbon dioxide in that area. It's a really cool sensor. Like Lady Ada said, this one is really doing the proper calculation for CO2. It's not just guessing based on other particulate matter and volatile organic gases in the air. This one is straight up CO2 sensing. So that is my product pick of the week. It is the SCD30 CO2 sensor.
All right, and Thursday you can tune in JP's workshop. Here is a little bit of a preview or something he recently shown, so you get an idea of what you might see on JP's workshop. Okay, time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, what's going on in the community, and more. Today is Trans Day of Visibility. Each year on March 31st, the world observes Transgender Day of Visibility, TVOD, to raise awareness about transgender people. It's a day to celebrate the lives and contributions of trans people while also drawing attention to poverty, discrimination, and violence the community faces. We have a little post on our website. We want to let everyone know on our team and our community and our customers and all of you out there, we support you. We want to make Adafruit an inclusive, diverse electronics place, an open source company for everyone. It's not only a day to celebrate the lives and contribution of trans people, but it's a good day to raise awareness for equal rights, dignity, respect for one another. Everyone deserves dignity and respect, healthcare, all those things. Here is a really neat, this is from the BBC Microbot that tweets out these little
So
BBC
cool.
Micro things, this little trans rights are human rights. So thank you everyone in our community who make this one of the best places. And I'll say this as a person in the community and an employer: if you want to get the best work and have the best, coolest things, you need to have the most people. And the way to have the most people is to have something where everyone's accepted. So that's our little corner of the world in electronics. I think we can all set a good example for all the rest of the world out there on how we can be good to each other. Next up, AdaBox. We have none left, but you can sign up because when we run AdaBoxes in April, you will be able to get one, probably because people move, credit cards change, and all that stuff. So you'll probably want to do that, adabox.com. On Saturday was the Arduino Day, and
right.
I'll say that the two most interesting things that I saw, I think,
Yeah.
was they're doing what we did with Learn, which is you have the code of the projects on the Arduino help pages
Yeah.
on GitHub.
They're on GitHub.
I thought that was interesting. And then there's a Nano Connect. It's a RP2040 with an ESP32.
Yes.
And like we already have something like that in the works. So it's like, okay, like it's good validation.
It's cool because I am excited to see the RP2040 make into the Arduino ecosystem. I think it's going to be a great board to use with Arduino. Another thing I've always wanted is more Arduinos to support UF2 as the bootloader standard. That's kind of my thing I've been kind of pushing for the last few years. And this is the first board where the bootloader is by default. It's a UF2. So I think that hopefully that will augur a new generation of boards that use UF2 and Teeny USB as a way to create a easier porting platform for microcontrollers into Arduino.
All right.
So that's my view.
So we have two videos that we released on Arduino Day. What we did was we took the Arduino core and we got it running on an RP2040. So Lady is going to show you one.
It's true.
That's
Not the
from-
official core.
No.
It does work.
Lady is going to show you one from Cutie Pie and
Yes.
then one from Arduino. We'll play those back to back and
Okay.
then we'll see on the other side. Okay, Lady, what is this?
Hey, I'm doing some more tests with, this is an RP2040 Cutie Pie. So this is not a SAMD chip. This is the Raspberry Pi RP2040 in a Cutie Pie format. And we're going to get these ready for the shop. But I was trying out connecting an OLED display to a temperature sensor. But here's what's interesting. This isn't running CircuitPython. This is running Arduino code. Yeah, it's amazing. It's the Arduino IDE. And we just loaded up our SSD 1306 OLED library and our MCP 9808 temperature sensor and kind of just got a demo going. It's kind of neat. I mean, there's going to be an official Arduino IDE package for this, but we're just trying out this one from Earl Philhauer. Did an excellent job. Check it out over on GitHub, the Arduino Pico project. You can install it, and it kind of works as an Arduino core for the RP2040. Super cool. Happy Arduino Day.
All right, Lady, what is this?
Hey, this looks like a pretty normal demo with a TFT feather wing and then a little temperature sensor. And then if I hold it, temperature goes up. So we know that's working. What's interesting about this is it's a feather RP2040 and it's not running CircuitPython. This is running Arduino. And you're probably like, whoa, wait a minute. There's no Arduino code for the RP2040. Actually, someone did. This person, Earl Philhauer, put together, it's rough, but it's a start to adding Arduino support to Pico. And this is me just verifying I2C works and SPI works. I got the display going and a sensor. There's still a lot of stuff that's going to be needed to make this like a full Arduino core. But if you want to start messing around with the Pico or other RP2040 chips with Arduino, it works. I got it working. It's cool. Great job, Earl.
All right, Collins Lab Notes is a new series that we're doing. We release these just about every day around 4 or 5 o'clock-ish. So I'm going to play these short videos. They're exactly a minute each or a little bit less.
Bite-sized Colin
That's right.
niblets.
And we're going to play these back to back. It's only 4 minutes, so you can probably guess how many videos there are. 4.
If you just scored a Raspberry Pi Pico, you'll want to get it connected and working with other hardware right away. That's what header pins are for. First, trim the included male header strips into 2 20-pin lengths. Next, place the strips in the breadboard like so. Now mount the Pico on top, ensuring all the pins are protruding through the holes. Solder both the header and the Pico's gold pad by heating it with a hot soldering iron tip, then dipping the end of your solder in to melt and make a connection. And when you're done, check for solder bridges. You can usually fix most bridges by simply running the iron tip between the pins. Pico is now ready to connect. Hey, it's already in a breadboard, which is handy. It's hard to juggle a PCB, component, solder, and soldering iron at once. Trust me, I've done it too many times. Why not call upon your old friend, Helping Hands? They're inexpensive, pleasingly anthropomorphic, and having them around saves plenty of time and headaches. Gotta solder a small PCB? Helping Hands. Gotta wire up some component leads? Helping Hands. Need something to hold up your sheet music? Yep, Helping Hands. And since this is the future, we now have upgrade options like this third hand tool with repositionable arms, a very stable base, and a lot more reach. In any case, find what works for you and use it. Keep whatever you're soldering stable and off the tabletop. It'll be easier to see what you're doing and harder to accidentally burn your workbench or yourself. You already have a big 10 or 100 microfarad capacitor to smooth the output of your voltage regulator. Why bother adding an extra 0.1 microfarad cap? Simply put, using multiple capacitor values allows your board to filter out a wider range of voltage fluctuations. That big cap is like a tiny backup battery. When power is first connected, it'll fill up with charge. Then, if your circuit suddenly draws a lot of power, instead of stressing your regulator and causing voltage to dip, that big cap will fill the gap by draining its charge back into the circuit. Electrolytic caps like these are good for protecting against frequencies in the hundreds of hertz range. The smaller cap performs the same function, but for faster fluctuations, like say noise from outside interference. A ceramic cap like this is best used against frequencies in the 10,000s of hertz range.
All right, help wanted. Jobs at Adafruit.com. The economy's coming back, so
Yeah.
post up your jobs if you're a company or if you're someone who's looking to have projects done, or if you have skills, post them up. I was asked a question today: is there volunteer efforts or those allowed? Yeah, you can post those up too.
Anything.
So check out
Give me a
jobs.
category for like Burning Man.
Yeah, jobs.adafruit.com, and no spam, no scams. We look at each one. We make sure that they're not sketch. Be careful with those because a lot of jobs boards are sketchy. We had our job boards scraped, and they put the job up on another place on the internet.
And they said it was Adafruit.
And they said it was Adafruit,
Which
and
is-
so
we
we got
just hosted.
yeah, like LinkedIn didn't care that someone else was posting a job that was on our job board.
Yeah.
Got it taken down, but just be careful because a lot of these are honeypots
Yeah.
for collecting people's personal information. They'll want
Yeah.
you to apply for a job, and you put in all this personal information. So we look,
And then it's like they sell your info.
yeah. So we look at these, and we make sure that they're for real and all that stuff. Good moderation helps good communities. Next up, Python on hardware. It is time.
That's
so
right.
we're almost up to about 9,000 subscribers on the Python on hardware newsletter. Kattni is driving
Woohoo!
the Python car this week. So a few things. Happy 30th anniversary Linux. Just talking about Linux in the chat a second ago. Someone was asking about like which flavor of Python on hardware is the best. I said it's kind of like when people say which is your favorite version of Linux, and usually the next question is, well, what do you want to do?
You like compiling stuff?
Yeah.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, it's like which one do you know?
Just want to get started fast? Ubuntu, whatever.
Yeah. Chromebooks are
Chromebooks are Linux.
Linux. So it really depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And what type of things. You can use Ubuntu. However, if you're just getting started and you just want to have something to get going right away, I might suggest a Chromebook because you can always like do more stuff with it. But that might be a really way to get started. Similar to the way CircuitPython, you can immediately get started with stuff, and then you can spend a ton of time doing really complex things if you want to, but that doesn't stop you from doing all the things that you want to do immediately.
Right.
So anyways, thought that was a good analogy. Happy birthday, Linux. Looking forward to CircuitPython, turn 30. Python Software Foundation membership drive. It's a good time to become a Python Software Foundation member.
Yes.
With COVID, they've had to do virtual events. So this is a really, 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 really important time. Please consider becoming a member. This Friday, Scott's doing a deep dive. It's all BLE all the time.
BLE. He's off the RP2040 stuff for a bit, Flash stuff, IMAX stuff, and he's going to be doing a lot of BLE workflow things.
Yeah.
So for those people who are like, hey, why doesn't the ESP32 have support in CircuitPython? Because there's no easy workflow, but maybe with BLE, we would be able to support the ESP32 and have a good workflow. Wouldn't that be interesting? Check in with Scott. He's the master of workflow.
Yeah. Larson scanner and CircuitPython using PWM and the blue LEDs for the Cytron Maker Pi Pico. It's connected with a Adafruit Feather NRF 52840. Check out this first radio. This is made with the Bluetooth radio kit. Here is more keyboards. This is a two-factor auth that you can do with a Pico. This is over on Hackaday and Reddit. This is one of the new things from Electronic Cats. It's kind of cool. Cat MFC.
Dude, there's a cat on there. I love it.
That's right.
More cats.
Low res camera with Raspberry Pi, CircuitPython. One of the things I wanted to show, and you can check out the rest of this in the newsletter, of course. But one of the things I wanted to show, two of the things were two videos of some CircuitPython stuff we're doing. So I'm going to show those. This is CircuitPython on one of the NXP chips, and then we also have CircuitPython run on Black Pill. And then the last thing I'm going to show is Jeff put together a really neat circuit sculpture also using CircuitPython. So you can look at all of these.
There is so much stuff. This is a beefy
Yeah,
newsletter.
we have 307 libraries, but here's some CircuitPython videos of the week to go along with the newsletter and this segment. Early data, what is this?
Well, I'm making a very calming project. This is a shield, a TFT shield on top of the new IMX RT1011 M7 Metro, and I'm sort of testing out CircuitPython with display stuff. So I just made a little demo where I have three transparent PNGs of the DVD video logo sort of bouncing around. And I'm just practicing like what happens if I add more. So maybe I'll make like 6. Let's see if it can handle 6 DVDs. Oh yeah, look at that. Just bouncing away. So yeah, just trying out like what can I do with a really fast processor running at 500 megahertz. So I'm gonna optimize this code a little bit, but it seems to be working. So bouncy.
Okay, Lady Ada, what is this?
This is an STM32F411 Black Pill chip. These are kind of like next gen STM32 low cost dev boards. They're so cute, they're really cheap, and they feature, of course, the STM32F411. And just showing that I've got CircuitPython running on this really nicely. We just put these in the store because some folks were trying to get them and they couldn't easily get them, so we stock a couple of them. They got some buttons, a little red LED, and what's nice is it just runs CircuitPython really well, plenty of memory, and you can connect displays and sensors, all that good stuff to your STM32F411 and run CircuitPython on it. Go Blinka!
Ready to do something new with electronics? Circuit sculpture is about turning this into this. Shape and solder brass rods, then attach electronic components like these Flora NeoPixels and Adafruit Feather. Advanced planning on a 3D printed jig can really help you get the shapes you want. The Feather runs CircuitPython, making it easy to customize the animations. This is just my second circuit sculpture, and I love how it turned out. If you want to get started too, there are tons of tutorials online. Just search for Circuit Sculpture Tutorial.
And that's our Python on Hardware news of the week.
Blinka, blinka.
All right, Lady Ada, we are an open source hardware company. To prove it, we have 2,447 guides. What are the guides this week?
Okay, I got some fresh new guides. We've got from Brent. There's a quick start on using the Raspberry Pi RP2040 with BLE with an airlift breakout. This was mostly for us to test whether it should work, right? The CircuitPython, like we said, it should be completely platform agnostic, but nothing really beats testing it. He tested it, and yeah, you can do Bluetooth Low Energy using our BLE.io library that we've developed over the last year in CircuitPython using the RP2040. So if you have a Pico, plug in an ESP32 onto it, program in the firmware, wire it up, and then you can use it as a coprocessor. Erin did this fun little project using our neon LED strips. We've seen people make these stick person costumes. Well, she did the same. It was a video we'll watch, but she put together a fun project that's no programming required, and you can pick any of the colors that our neon comes in. And the neon is really nice and durable, but flexible, so it makes for a great costume. We also have, from Noah and Pedro, the CyberDeck expansion plate. If you got a CyberDeck hat or bonnet for a Raspberry Pi 400, you can use this to expand it and attach more stuff. I don't know. I just anytime somebody is like CyberDeck expansion pack, I'm into it. I love that stuff. We had a couple updated guides, the CircuitPython LED animations and AW9523 expander guides. We just updated some code examples and stuff. But the stars of the guide show today are from the Loeb team over at Microsoft. They wrote 3 guides on doing machine learning with vision processing using a Raspberry Pi 4 and a Braincraft hat and the Loeb AI system, which is basically takes the most difficult part of machine learning, which is how to train new models, and makes it so easy that it's basically a science fair project, it is a really good science fair project. If you've never done machine learning, you want to train a machine learning model, but you don't want to learn Keras or sit in a Python terminal all day and just mess around. You just want to do what you want to get done. Using Loeb, you can use your computer's camera, train a model, program it, download it into a Raspberry Pi 4, and they have 3 examples. One is the Machine Learning 101. It's just getting started. A package detector, something that will detect when something is dropped off on front of your door. So you'd have this camera pointing at your, outside your door, maybe through your window. And when somebody dropped off a package, it would alert you. So it could send you a text message, or it could send you an email or whatever. And also a rock, paper, scissors game. So detecting hand gestures. So it's is this scissors and is this paper? What if the hand is tilted? Learning all sorts of tricks about visual recognition with machine learning with Loeb AI is cool. We have a kit that goes with it, but you probably have a Raspberry Pi 400, a Raspberry Pi 4 or 400 already to help you get started, and you can begin machine learning with ease. So I'm excited. I always love machine learning, but I thought training models was so hard. So I'm really, really psyched that we finally gotten past that struggle, and we can actually build projects for fun using machine learning.
Yeah. Also, if you're trying to get a group of people interested in machine learning with different skill sets, and I'd say it's a pretty new field. If you're an expert, you're already past the point of getting over the frustration of this.
Yeah.
But that first demo out of the box things, that's why the Loeb kit I think is really good, and the Braincraft stuff that we've been doing.
And the Raspberry Pi 4, it's finally we can do it, and it's not you need a special graphics card or anything. You just use off the shelf stuff, and then set up your Raspberry Pi 4, and it's a dedicated machine learning device.
All right, and then we have I'll play some of this. This is the video that Erin did that goes along with the stick person costume with neon LED strips. have some New York City factory footage. We're going to do a couple things different this week. We have a silk design from Phil B, and then we're going to play a couple speed up videos, and then the regular factory footage. So this one's action packed this week.
It's silkscreen time. Looking at the Cyber Deck for Raspberry Pi 400. We wanted a classic cyberpunk motif, and that means monitors, 4 to 3 with raster lines, and lots of them. Bonnet, hat, same idea. Wanted a bunch of junky wires in there and like a series of tubes, and so I made some custom brushes for this. Run some wires, run more wires. Illustrator doesn't do real 3D, so the cases for the monitors were drawn manually. Swap out for new logo, and even more wires. Last minute request, had to put Jones the Dolphin in there. And it's not cyberpunk without optical discs. And like 2 days later, there we go.
This is the selective solder.
Ooh, I think it's making cyberdecks.
Yeah, it might be.
I think it's a cyberdeck looking board. Suspicious. Oh, we're going to be updating our ink displays. There's a new driver, and I'm just making sure the tester works with the new driver chip.
Yeah. Here's tester.
More testers, SH231. This is some rework.
And that's our factory footage and more this week. And here's what's going on across the street while they build the Disney
Oh,
building.
got
Looks like
the
there's some more cranes.
Crane action.
Yeah.
Oh, they're on the dudes are on the crane.
Yeah.
That is scary.
And then they're still digging.
Digging.
All right, 3D printing. We have 2 videos this week. One is, a little 3D printed related. There's fabrication involved. It's the Cyberdeck video from Don Pedro.
Yeah, there's one 3D printed model.
And then we're going to do a speed up.
Egg.
This is the Cyberdeck hat for the Raspberry Pi 400. It lets you plug in accessories like this Pi TFT from Adafruit. It's got custom angled headers that are designed for all sorts of accessories. We designed a plate with slotted rails for attaching extra breakout boards. You can use hardware screws and standoffs to secure them to the plate. It's secured directly to the mounting holes with M25 screws. The Cyberdeck plugs into the back of the Pi 400 and is held in place with friction. The mounting plates can be 3D printed, laser cut, or CNC milled. We also designed a smaller one for the Cyberdeck bonnet. Install the Pi TFT by lining up the headers and firmly pressing them together. Plug in a STEMMA QT cable into your STEMMA QT breakout. Then just plug it into the STEMMA QT port on the side of the Cyberdeck. You can also daisy chain multiple sensors together. This is the AMG 8833 thermal camera running demo code on a Pi TFT. It's working in full screen with slight modifications to display more pixels. We also installed the Hollywood script written by Dustin Kirkland. We milled the plate out of acrylic using a desktop CNC from Bantam Tools. I etched a pattern of circuit traces using an engraving bit. I used Fusion 360 to create a repeatable pattern that spans across the surface. I gradually lowered the depth and ran multiple passes to get clean edges. The engraving really stands out when viewed from the other side of the acrylic. Using a 1/16 inch end mill, I ran a 2D contour to create the outline. I also used it to cut the 2 slots and the 4 mounting holes. I really like the look of these traces, especially on fluorescent acrylic. And there you have it, the Cyberdeck from Adafruit. So if you have a Pi 400 and some accessories, we hope this inspires you to check it out.
And check out 3D Hangouts every single week on Wednesdays. No, Pedro. Next week, they're not going to be around, but they're going to be around for show and tell. So expect them to return 2 weeks from now. But show and tell, they'll be hosting it next week.
All the 3D printing love.
DigiKey and Adafruit present this week.
Weehaw! One of my favorite tool companies, so I'm
Right.
excited. I didn't realize I hadn't done a Weehaw NPI yet.
Yeah.
And, I've used, my oldest tools are actually Weehaw tools. The only tools that I have that have survived the longest are from them. I'm actually going to show them.
Okay.
On the overhead, because I just thought it was...
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. So this is like, 20 years.
This is the
old.
original. You could tell because the plastic.
It's all yellowed.
Well, I've moved these around to different Adafruits in the past. I
I've
remember
moved
these
this
now. Yeah.
to like 7 or 8 apartments now. So I got these when I was a sophomore in college, or a junior in college, and there was a store called Active Electronics. You can barely see here. It was a Canadian company, and they had storefronts. It was like Radio Shack crossed with Micro Center. It had like really advanced electronic components, and they had really good tools. And over, I actually have the whole set. I just don't know. Like some of them are at the office, and some of them are like somewhere else. But these are the original Weehaw screwdrivers, and what I really liked is that this kit in particular came with the chip lifter, which is really handy because I was doing a lot of dip chips and EEPROMs, and so I would use this to carefully lift chips out of breadboards. This is exactly what this tool is used for. You don't use a screwdriver, you use a chip lifter. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I've carried this around with me again for over 20 years now. It's from 1999 probably or so. Anyways.
All right. So what are we showing this week?
We're going to show the newest generation of screwdrivers from Weehaw, which is the Speed E. So it's, I think you pronounce it Speed E. And this is the second generation of this electric screwdriver. And having used a screwdriver on projects or products where I was doing a lot of assembly, I know that it gets very tiring to constantly screw and unscrew machine screws or terminal blocks or whatnot. It's not so bad if you're doing like 5 or 10, but if you're doing a run of like, 100 or 500 products and each one of them has assembly, and yes, you can get fancy like, pneumatic screwdrivers, but if you're in that in-between space where it's like, look, I just want a tool I can put away, I don't want to have, it's not going to be a bench tool that's like installed at the bench. I want something that I can move around quite easily. This is much lighter than most electric screwdrivers, and it's definitely a lot lighter and smaller than a drill, like an electric drill, which with a screw bit in it. So I thought this was a nice tool. There's a lot of little extras in it that I think make it extra fancy for an electric screwdriver. It's got this nice ring light. The ring light also lets you know when the battery's low. It kind of pulses on and off. It's powered by lithium-ion batteries. It actually comes with 2 batteries, which is really nice because you use one and then you charge the other. They're 18500. This is a standard size battery, but what I like is these are protected. So you can even see it's like EE Power is the company. These are protected cells, so don't use unprotected cells. I think that's a nice little touch. I always appreciate that. 1500 milliamp hours, and you also get a charger. Charger, in this case, the photo shows the European end, but it's a USB charger, so it's nice. It's like a USB wall adapter with like universal plugs. So mine came with a couple different plugs, including US. But you can always just power the lithium-ion charger over USB as well. So you don't have to use the plug. You can just plug into your computer, or my outlets have a little USB plug, so that's handy as well. So I thought, for the most part, it's like the only way to show this is on the overhead. So let's go to the overhead and show it off. So you can pick up the full kit from DigiKey, right, a sponsor of this segment. And this is what you get. So it's got like a nice little handle here, but open it up. And there's an instruction manual. Read it, of course. It's a nice little instruction manual. Has some info in it. Obviously, this has already been taken apart and put back together, and that's why it's like, why is this all like jumbly looking? Because I was using it. So this is the power plug. So yeah, it comes with, this one came with US plugs, but this is kind of a standard clip-on, like a plug adapter. So you can get adapters for different countries, of course. And this is a 5-volt, 2.4 amp adapter. So it's basically like a USB, a high-powered USB plug. And this is the charger. It's got LEDs in it. The LEDs, of course, they tell you, red is charging, green it's fully charged, and blinking means there's an error. It's nice. It's got a little rubber thingy so it doesn't slip off. And then these are the batteries, and you can even tell that they're protected because they've got this like extra gold plate on the bottom. So there's probably a protection cell either on the bottom over here or on the top here. So it's a good idea. Always love protected cells. And this is the screwdriver itself. Whoa, sorry about that. So this is the body of the screwdriver, and the battery goes in here. So again, you get 2 batteries, charge one while the other one is being used. How long does it last? I mean, I I didn't quite yet run down the battery, so you can use it for like an hour or two, depending on how often you're screwing and how much torque you're applying, of course. And then here on the end is where you can plug in tips. There's like a standard Weha tip series. It comes with a whole selection of them in this kind of a gum box. So you've got large flatheads. You've got a couple Phillips. You've got like a combo. I like this. This is kind of nice. There's like a combo Phillips flat. You can kind of see. And then 2 terminal block squares. So it's got, a range. Not the finest, tips, but this one is, I think, a pH 0. No, this is a pH 1. This is a combo pH 1. So number 1, number 2. But you can also, of course, get from Weha, they sell like every hex and whatever adapter you possibly want. And each one is torque rated as well, which I think is kind of neat. This one, is, for example, is torque rated to 5.5 Newton meters. Then once you've decided what tip you want, you can put this back. This snips in. It's not like magnetic, I don't think, but it is like a very firm fit. And then this part, this ring, is what you rotate to rotate. So when you twist it, and it turns, and then twist it the other way, it turns, and that's it. So you just hold it steadily like this, and then you use your fingers to twist and turn. So yeah, this is designed for electricians, and definitely I can see if you're an electrician, you're constantly like opening and closing terminal blocks all day. But what I think this is very useful for is if you're working on a product where, again, you have to assemble or disassemble a lot of screws. It's not a problem if you're assembling or disassembling like 20 screws. Not a big deal. It's when you get into like the hundreds, your wrist starts hurting a lot. And like you start getting like tendinitis, especially if you're also an engineer that types a lot. Constantly twisting a screwdriver is going to make your shoulders hurt, and your arm hurt, and your wrist hurt, and your forearm hurt. This is where I would use a tool like this. Like, it's quite handy for that purpose. We have an electric screwdriver in the store that's like a little thin one, but it doesn't have nearly as much torque. I think it goes up to like maybe 0.1 or 0.2 Newton meters. This one, so one of the things that is new in this model, the 2 Speedy, is it's got 2 torque settings, and the minimum I think is 0.4 Newton meters. The max is 0.8. There's actually in the manual, it's a range. It's like 0.4 to 0.5 and 0.8 to 1 Newton meters. I'm assuming that's due to like variations in the motor and of course the battery life. Like if the battery is fully charged, you're gonna get just a little bit more wattage out of it. You're gonna probably get like max torque. As it gets to nominal voltage, 3.7 volts, you're probably gonna drop down a bit and get down to that nominal 0.4 or 0.8 Newton meters. So it's got a lot more torque. And then when you hit the torque, it actually latches, and then you twist it by hand. So I didn't want to actually demo it, but if you switch it like this, let's explain. So when I twist this, this part twists, right? Okay, so it's screwing in. But if I'm not holding onto this and twisting it, if I'm just holding onto the body and I'm twisting it, this has 10 Newton meters of torque max. So this is still a screwdriver. It's not like it's not slipping. So what you would normally do is, say if you're working with screws that are going into plastic, for example, you'd use the lower torque. If you're using, big machine screws or big terminal blocks, you use the higher torque. And then once it stops, it reaches that max torque, right? It's screwed all the way in. You've hit the torque. Then you would use the handle and give it an extra 1/4 inch twist, right? That's the finger tight plus 1/4 turn. That like a lot of, that's the guideline I use for like how much to tighten something. You would use the body for doing that because the motor, you don't want to like, you can't max out past whatever the rating, the torque is for the min and max rating. That makes sense. So you still can use it as a screwdriver. You still will use it as a screwdriver to finish off, especially if you need more than 1 Newton meter of torque. But it depends on what you're using. If it's plastics, maybe you don't. If it's machinery that's delicate, maybe you don't. But if you do need to give it a really good twist at the end, you reach the ending, you just hold the body and give it that last quarter turn.
Okay. And did you want to play the video?
Yeah, and there's also like a fun little video from Weehaw, and then we want to show where they can get it in stock.
Yeah, we'll show it at the end after
Okay,
the video.
let's show the video.
And these are available on DigiKey. I think there's a couple more left, folks were saying in the chat.
And here's the thing, you might be wondering, I wonder if it's cheaper if I get it like direct from Weehaw or some other popular online store. No, it's actually like $40 or $50 less to get it at DigiKey. So if you want one of these, get them from DigiKey because it's a really good price. And yeah, it's like looking at this, I'm starting to think of all the Burning Man projects I did where I was just sitting there and like cranking on like an Allen wrench or a screwdriver for like hours and like my shoulder ached. I definitely can't do that anymore at my age, so electric screwdriver is where it's at. And these are very powerful tools now.
Short URL, digikey.com/sort/0
V44
DHD9, and then you can do 32490 ND.
Or just search for Speed E.
Yeah. And that is an MPI for the week. All right, Lady Ada, we're going to jump right into new products. You ready?
Okay.
Okay,
All
first up is an update.
Okay, we've updated. I realized that our old LED ring trinket kit, which people love making LED goggles, was using the old trinket. We love the old trinket, but its time has come and gone. It's been upgraded. This kit now comes with a trinket M0. Same thing, and here's the good news. The code's the same, and you can also use CircuitPython. So same price, updated to use new SAMD21, bigger and better. We also have more compute module 4s. These compute modules, we had none, and now we have a whole bunch of different kinds. This one, I want to get the exact model correct because there's so many. This one is the 32 gigabyte MMC with Wi-Fi and 4 gigabytes of RAM. So this is like a beefy compute module. It's got the Wi-Fi, you see that in the top left. We have the antenna kits as well. It's got flash MMC on it, so you don't need a separate SD card. And also it's MMC, so it's going to be faster at 32 gigabytes. And 4 gigabytes of RAM. So this would be actually perfect for heavy computational stuff and machine learning on the edge type projects, because you'll need that extra RAM.
All right, next up.
Next up, these are adorable edge launch USB-C connectors. I actually ordered these a really long time ago, and they finally came in. They're interesting because normally we only have USB-C connectors that like a cable plugs into, but this plugs directly into a computer, as seen on the Serpenti, the Arturo's board that we also stock. So check that out. But if you're like, hey, I want a connector like that, we have them. I'll show them real fast on the overhead, maybe, although our photos are quite good. Okay, so that comes on a strip, and you get 10. And let me show you. So here's some things about it. So you're probably like, Lady Ada, I know that you don't like SMT-only connectors like this because they have a mechanical, stress on them. And it's true. I wish that these had these tabs as through hole, but they just weren't available. I believe this is why it took so long to get them. I was going back and forth, and I was like, can't you just bend them? And they're like, no. So this is a fully surface mount, single-sided connector. So you're going to want to look at the datasheet, because what you do is on the PCB, you actually have this part be a large SMT pad. Like there's these 4 little pads. I'm talking about the middle part here. You actually use that as an SMT pad to give you some mechanical strength. These are the pinouts. The pins are not the same pins as the USB-C socket connector that we use. Check the datasheet. It's not intuitive. They kind of come out in a slightly interesting order. And then here there's a little cap. I don't know why there's a cap, maybe to protect it. And then this is the USB-C plug, so this plugs into the computer, and then you can plug it either way, and you have a USB-C connection. So, I don't see a lot of devices that plug directly into USB-C, but I thought this was kind of a unique and interesting connector, and in case I ever did want to use it for something, I wanted to have them in stock. So now we do too.
All right, next up we have 2 versions of what I think is going to be the Hello World for machine learning.
Yeah, machine learning is really fun. You hear a lot about it, and maybe you want to play around with it. Especially, in my opinion, the most interesting machine learning is vision recognition, because we're humans, we see stuff, and maybe we want to make machines see stuff and recognize what they're seeing. Vision has historically been incredibly hard to do with computers. Like, there's jokes about how, 30, 40 years ago, it's like, how hard could it be to recognize what bird is in front of a camera? Turns out, really heckin' hard. But with machine learning, it's actually not too difficult. Well, I mean, it's still difficult, but you have a much better chance of training it because our machines have gotten faster. We've figured out ways of convincing computers what they're looking at and how to let them differentiate what they're looking at. So, people can use machine learning on their phones, you can use it on your computer, but maybe you want to have a device, like something that's a standalone device that can do machine learning vision recognition for you. So we bring the Braincraft hat. We released it a couple months ago. We've done projects with it. It's basically designed to plug into a Raspberry Pi 4 and make it easy for you to design any kind of machine learning project, particularly vision projects, because it's got a little display on it that you can see what it's seeing, which I think is really helpful because you're trying to debug what is being recognized. So you've got a Raspberry Pi 4, and you've got the Braincraft hat, and you've got the Raspberry Pi camera, and here it is all plugged in together. Okay, great, an SD card. But now you have to actually train the model, right? You have to train the vision. And historically, this has been really hard to do. You've had to get all these photos, and you've had to tag them, and you have to classify them, and it's just it's been really not fun to do. I did it once, and it was you spend days training your model. Use all this compute time, and then in the end, it's maybe it works, and you have to start over from the beginning. And that's where Lobe comes in. So Lobe is this free software from Microsoft that you use in a browser. And what's neat about it is it does all the hard parts of machine learning, where you don't have to collect data. Instead, it just uses your computer camera. And you train the different classifications, and then it does the computation for you, and it spits out this file. You put the file onto your Raspberry Pi, and suddenly, ding dong, the Raspberry Pi can recognize whether a package has been left in front of your door, or what kind of plant is on top of your desk, or you can play rock, paper, scissors, and it can recognize your hand gestures without you having to type in rock. You just make the fist or a plane or your 2 fingers, and it knows if it's rock, paper, or scissors. So really basic machine learning stuff, but again, historically really tough to do. How do you recognize when there's a bird at your bird feeder? Let you know, or take a photo of it so you can go and watch some cool birds. Or maybe there's a squirrel, and it shouldn't be a squirrel, and you want it to scare the squirrel away. All these fun projects you can build, recognizing things. I saw a project on the Raspberry Pi blog, recognizing when there's a dog outside, being walked outside your apartment, so you can go outside and maybe pet the dog, or just look at the adorable dog. All these vision projects you can do with machine learning, and you train it using Lobe, and it makes it really easy. So easy that a school kid can do it, which means also PhD students can do it. Those are kind of equivalent things to me.
So I have 2 versions, one without and one with. This is the one with a Raspberry Pi.
That's
you get
right.
all this stuff. There's one without.
The only reason is a lot of people already have a Raspberry Pi 4 or Pi 400.
And they're looking for something to do with them.
They want something to do with them.
One of these.
So there's an all-in-one kit that has everything you need. It's got the power supply even. It's got the fan. It's got the Braincraft hat. It's got cables and everything. And then, of course, if you don't have a Raspberry Pi 4, pick up the one with a Raspberry Pi 4.
Okay.
2 versions.
Next up.
Next up, Kale sockets. This is kind of cool. Looks like a little alien friend. These are sockets that are used for MX mechanical keypad switches. And what it means is you don't have to solder in the mechanical key anymore, which is awesome. Folks who have done mechanical keyboards for a while, remember, you used to have to solder them in. Well, like a year or two ago, I think Kale, the company, just printed on this, came up with these sockets. And you can see it here on the back of one of our Neo key breakouts. And when you solder the socket in, and it's really easy to solder, it's like the pads are really large. It and you know the other side has little 2 holes in it, and you can plug in a mechanical key switch, and you don't have to solder it in. It isn't like a perfect permanent connection. You do have to add a little bit of mechanical support, but the electrical connection and like the basic mechanical connection is done for you. So let me see if I have. Okay, let me show it on the overhead real fast. I'll show it with the other new product, the feathering. So I've got here a feathering, a PCB with 2 mechanical key switches in it. Yes, you clicky, clicky, clicky. Okay, but what if I'm like, oh, I don't want this kind of clicky. I want a different kind of clicky. I want a Gateron switch. I want an MX blue. I want an MX red. I want MX gray, whatever. These, you just pull them out carefully, and you can see the socket is flat against the PCB. You can kind of see here the 2 sockets here coming out. And then on the back, those 2 sockets are soldered onto the back of the PCB. So this makes it really easy for you to, flip around different switches, customize them. And then again, you saw it is possible to pull them off. They're mechanically stable if you're only pressing down, but if you end up, pressing from the side, they do tilt. So that's why you might want to use a little bit of glue or epoxy just to kind of give them a little bit more strength. Still enough that you could pull it off if you really had to, or wedge it off, but enough that you could switch up keys. So, Kale sockets, and they come in a pack of 20.
Next up.
Translucent keycaps. As seen on our keycap projects, these allow light to shine through them. They're translucent. They're a little bit big. They're not symmetric, but they're fairly inexpensive. And as seen here, LEDs shine through them quite nicely. Note that because most keys, you're wondering, like, why doesn't the whole keycap light up? The way the LEDs on mechanical keys and key switches work is they don't come from the center. They come along the side. That's a normal thing for keycaps, and they're all like this. So even though the whole thing is translucent, you're not going to get full translucency across the whole body of it. That's just sort of part of the deal with mechanical key switches. That said, they fit very nicely onto any MX compatible key switch. Kale boxes are shown here, or Cherry MXs, or Gaterons, or any of those compatibles. They click on, they're completely 90-degree symmetric, so you can put them on any which way. And like I said, they do allow your glowy light to shine through. Yeah. Clicky, clicky.
All right, and star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, and our community, is
the Neo Key Featherwing. Yay! So much keyboard stuff coming out. So we had last week the individual Neo Key breakouts, right? Which I think we had. Hold on.
There's this.
There's
this.
Yes. No, I can't see. Oh, sorry, this one. Pardon me.
That.
So that's the individual ones, right? So this is showing a cutie pie with 2 individual key switches wired together. But you're like, I have a feather, and I don't want to wire up 2 individual switches. Great. We have this Featherwing. The Featherwing has 2 Kale sockets and 2 NeoPixels in it. They're wired up directly to pins like 5, 6, and 9, and it's just like 2 key switches, and they're on a Featherwing, and you can turn it into a little keyboard if you want. You can make it into a MIDI controller, or HID, or really anything you like. Sky's the limit, as it were. Okay. And let me see if I can find my plug so I can show the live demo. So let's go to the overhead and show it off. Thank you. Okay, so you've got here, if I press these, they turn off. Very handy for showing the demo. So this is just plugged on top of a feather. It's a standard Featherwing shape. It'll fit on any feather we have. The only one I'd warn is the ESP8266 doesn't have a lot of pins. It'll still work, but you're kind of using the only 3 GPIO you've got. You can plug in any MX compatible switch you like, and you can see there's nice bright NeoPixels that shine through. And we use Kale sockets, and there's a little reset button as well, so you can reset the board. You can also change which pins the NeoPixel and the switches are connected to if you wish. There's little jumpers on the bottom. Unplug this so you can show you. There's a little jumper. You can cut this and rewire if you want to, but I kind of picked what I thought were pretty good defaults. And then you put whatever keypad you want on the top, and you're good to go. I will note that this product does not come with the key switches, and it does not come with the keycaps either. Like, it comes just like that. And we will be stocking.
But it's in the photo.
It's in the photo. But we will, I want to demonstrate. We will be stocking
We have to.
these
We have to show how it works, and we have to show
show.
the things that it works with.
Yeah. And then the NeoPixels are tied together in a row, so it just looks like an LED strip of like 2 NeoPixels, basically. They're not, even though like it only turns off when I don't press it, they're not actually connected. I have a little bit of code that's reading the key presses and changing, which ones are lit. So they're independent elements. I want to make that clear. And that's the important.
All right, y'all can line up some questions over on adafruit.it/discord. We're going to do a quick top secret.
Okay.
We got
That's
two
right.
things.
I'm involved.
Yeah, so what was this that you're working on?
This is kind of neat. So we have CO2 sensors, which are wonderful. But we saw from Sensirion, they're coming out with a new sensor, upgrade to the SCD30. It's the SCD41. It's 11 more. This is a very small CO2 temperature and humidity sensor. And I think it's a true CO2 sensor. And it's just very tiny. So we thought we would make a little STEMMA QT breakout for it. It's I2C. And even better, they wrote a driver for Arduino and Python. So it'll be like super ready to go. Very fast.
Okay, and then you sent this off.
I sent off a panel. Because I'm no longer doing RP2040 stuff that I don't talk about, I can show off my panels. I couldn't show like the panels before because there's always like an RP2040 board that I was like, I can't show what this is because it's not out. But now we're other secrets. But this one there's no secrets here. So you take astronomy. So you can check these out, see what we're working on, maybe guess what some of these products are. Maybe you can make some good guesses.
All right, and we have a video. This is a little bit of a recap from what was on the show and tell. So this will be maybe the first time some people have ever seen it.
Other top secrets.
Do you want to talk about what this is?
Oh, yeah. This is a pocket chip. So it's if people remember the pocket chip, it was a little Linux handheld. And then it was a module, and then they made this handheld that held the module, and they actually closed shop a couple of years ago. But I really missed it, and I thought, it would be great to have one that was a Raspberry Pi. And so when the compute modules came out, I was like, dude, we have to make a pocket chip. And I saw that Timon was doing stuff with the compute module. So I was like, well, you've already got compute module stuff going on. You know how to use these things. We want to contract you to design a pocket chip, a little handheld computer with a TFT screen. This is not the final physical version. Also, there's no TFT screens on planet Earth right now due to the part shortage. So this is in development, and I have some ideas, but what I think is really neat is he used this I2C to keyboard converter to save us a USB port. So the kernel reads the I2C keyboard. It doesn't have a USB plug, which means the USB plug is available at the top for hack and pleasure.
Back in the vault.
Back in the vault.
Okay, now we're going to do some questions. So I have a few lined up from Discord.
Okay, hit me up.
Going to do a few, and then we're going to scram for the night.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. First question is, back in December, you featured the NRF PPK2 on INMPI. It seems to be in super high demand. Do you have any other suggestions in that price range for folks needing to start testing soon?
There ain't nothing in that price range. That's why the PPK was so amazing. It was like a tenth the price of normal power monitors. I know that they're trying to make more. The only thing I can recommend is just, back order them on DigiKey.
A bunch of people bought them after seeing our Ion MPI.
Yeah, believe me, I only have one.
Ion MPI works. Watch it. Next up, not quite an engineering question, but a product question. Would a Pi OLED 3527 fit under the lid of the Adafruit Pi 2.3 case PID 2557?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. You can post in the forums. I don't have one with me.
Will you ever sell the reverse mount NeoPixels like you can buy the individual regular NeoPixels.
Yeah, we have some on order, but we used our first reel for making these boards, which was more important to me, so it got delayed.
Okay. Next up, how can the Adafruit Mini IR remote control be used with Circuit Playground Express and MakeCode? I tried many ways to get the infrared receiver to work in MakeCode, but no luck. The remote worked fine with Circuit Python and on the Circuit Playground Express. Any advice?
Something
It
could have
might
changed.
not be supported now because they did an update, but I would
Post in the MakeCode forums.
I would check. Yeah, they're really responsive.
Yeah, they open the MakeCode. There's MakeCode forums, also a MakeCode GitHub repo. You can open
Yeah.
issues, but I post in the forums first. I know that infrared is really tough, and so it's not too surprising.
Okay. Is there RP2040 support now on Arduino? I can't get the new ID. It's not.
It's not
re-
official.
It's not official. You can look at our blog posts
Yeah.
about it. and
Yeah,
you can
I
see
linked
there's
to
a-
where to get it. It's not official, and it's not 100%, and it's not beginnery, but it does work.
Okay, the Adafruit MCP22221A breakout, general purpose USB to GPIO, has been out of stock for a long time. And my DigiKey, on my DigiKey order, and the date keeps getting extended. Will you be making more?
Welcome to part shortages.
Remember that thing about part shortages? Yeah.
I think we're probably waiting on the MCP221. I don't know what to tell you. We order stuff, and then our order dates get pushed out too. We ordered some chips, and they're like, yeah, we'll get this to you in June, and we're like, wow, June, and they're like 2022. So as soon as we get them, believe me, we will put them in stock. Try the FT232H breakout. It's very similar. That might be good. That's the only thing I can really recommend. That's kind of a similar board.
All right. I'm going to pop over to the other chat. See this one. Can you drive a NeoPixel strip with the ESP32 if the strip is powered by a 5-volt supply and ESP32 by USB, even if the ESP is 3-volt logic?
You can try, but you might need a level shifter.
Okay. All right. Next up, cool. Folks are posting the link to the Arduino Pico. Yeah, I assume there's going to be the new updated IE because
Yeah.
they are going to release, at least according to Arduino Day, an RP2040 Nano Connect with an ESP32 on it. But just keep in mind that was an announcement, not a ship date or anything.
This is
like
something
that.
that I tried it and it works.
Yeah.
There's a couple of little details about it, but it's there.
Yeah. Okay. I think.
I'm just gonna click this thing. Clicky, 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 clicky.
I think we got to all of them. And we're running a little late tonight, so I think
Okay.
we'll call it here.
Thanks,
all right,
everybody.
that's the show. Keep asking questions in the chat.
Keep clicking.
Folks are going to be around. Special thanks to everyone in the Adafruit chat. Special thanks to our Adafruit team members running things behind the scenes this week.
Takara.
This week it's Takara.
Yeah,
Yay,
that's right.
Takara. And special thanks to all of our customers and everyone. We do have Picos in stock right now.
Yes,
So
some.
yeah, we didn't make a big deal out of it because we wanted folks to be able to get a chance to get them. But if you go to our site and get a Pico right now, we still have a few in stock probably.
Yes.
And thanks for placing the orders. It's keeping us in business. Our team thanks you. We'll
Thank you.
continue to ship safe and smart. We'll continue to do the best we can for our community, for open source, for all of you out there. And hopefully we'll see a lot of you soon virtually and soon after that maybe in person as things get back to a way where traveling
But
is
until
easier.
then,
Yeah.
we're still doing all this stuff.
Yeah, we didn't give up. We just
And we've always done Ask Engineer virtually. This has always been like a virtual hangout.
Turns out if you
Okay.
do something on a regular basis every week and you have lots of different ways to do it, no matter what adversity comes your way, you got something to look forward to and you have a lot of people that maybe you're helping out. So I think that was one of the core things that kept us going each week is like, well, no matter what, let's try to help folks with our products and let's try to keep this community going during all these up and down times. So we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much. Here is your moment of Zener.